We are now video casting along with podcasting, so you can hear us, you can see us, you can talk to us.
Sound like a TV show.
We will be talking about the Coaches Roundtable.
And I see half of a game here, half of a game there, because I want to get eyes on these teams that we're ranking.
Welcome back to the UC Extra Point Podcast. This is episode 9, and we are continuing our conversation with Mr. Todd Sylvester. But let me ask you a question.
Please.
For parents.
Yeah.
Warning signs. And what do you do with that?
Yeah.
You know, you said at one point, you said you were filled with anxiety, you were filled with depression, you hated your life.
Yeah.
What can parents do if they see these types of things going on in their own children? Because you love your children like nobody else.
Yeah.
And you want only the best for them. But sometimes that denial, oh, they're okay. Yeah. They just need to toughen up. They get off the couch.
Yeah.
What do they do?
Okay, that's a great question because it's a loaded question, because what I'm going to tell the parents right now, they won't expect this answer. And I'm telling you, this is where the miracles take place when it comes to relationship with parents and their children. You have to first see, if I walk into my kid's room and say, get off your phone, do this, right? And I tell them all these things I want them to do. What happens is it creates this wedge, and the kid starts to resent me, right? So, and I know this is going to sound a little more difficult than it is, but it's not as difficult as you think. You have to start building a relationship with your children. And what that means is, and I'll give an example, okay? I have 4 kids. I take each one of my kids on an individual date at least once a month, if not more. Obviously, we do things as a family, but that individual date has been the greatest thing I've ever done. And guess who taught me that? My mentor, Rich Saunders. So here's why I'm bringing this up. When I have a relationship with my children individually, now I can go talk to them and say, hey, I'm seeing these things, and I think you need to lay off your phone some more. Would you be willing to do that? Now I have the relationship where I can actually talk about those things without it having some resistance. Now, is it perfect? No. But what happens is we get so busy as moms and dads, and again, rightfully so, we're busy. And we don't take the time to build an individual relationship with our children. And again, I'm not saying...
Because once that relationship is built, they now trust you when you tell them something negative.
Oh my gosh, I'll tell you. And after every date, you know what I tell my kids? I look them in the eye and I say the most powerful sentence you could tell your children. And it's not, I love you. Because we say it so much, love you too.
It becomes trite.
Yep. I look my kids in the eye and I say, I believe in you. It is the most powerful sentence you can tell your children. Because what it does psychologically is it gives them permission to start believing in themselves. And so as a parent, that should be our goal, is how can I build a strong relationship, not only as a family unit, which is great, and that's important, but it's that individual, one-on-one, where I'm hanging out, taking my kids on a date, and they know after every date I'm going to look them in the eye and say, I believe in you. And it's amazing. So, and then as I have this relationship, my kids will come tell me, oh yeah, and I've had this happen. One of my kids, had a friend, asked me to go smoke pot today. And instead of freaking out, I go, oh, what'd you tell him? And I said, no. I said, good for you. Thanks for telling me. And the other thing that I taught my kids is that telling the truth, you'll never get a negative response from dad. Now, I wish I could say I was perfect at that. I'm not.
None of us are, but it's that practice. It's, you practice to become a better basketball player. You practice to become a better parent.
100%.
And you're not going to get it right. I've screwed so many things up.
Yeah.
I wish I would have treated my first 2 like I've treated my last 2, because as you get older, then they say to you, oh, Dad, you become soft. Yeah. You're not tough like you were. No, I just learned along the way that building that relationship and that trust factor is so important.
Yeah.
And this applies to coaches. This applies to teams. If everything is negative and they don't trust you, it's the coaches, the soft-spoken coaches like Lavelle Edwards, that they'll run through fire for, because he was not only their coach, but he was like their dad too.
Yeah.
And that's the same principle I think you're
Absolutely,
getting at.
because if you ask the team, let's win it for the coach, versus I want to get my own individual stats because I don't even like the coach. Hey, but when the team collectively goes, let's win it for the coach, that's when the team's connected in the healthy way. That's powerful. And I'd like to add something you said earlier. We become brothers, when you play in a team, right? And I always ask my clients this: what is the definition of love, right? And I get all kinds of answers, and they're all good. But the best definition of love is sacrifice. If I love my kids, I will sacrifice my time and effort to be with them. And everyone hearing this goes, I know that. But truly, that individual, one-on-one sacrifice, that's what love looks like. When we play on a team, what do? We sacrifice for the team. Why? And then we end up loving everyone on the team. Why? Because we're all sacrificing. That is what love is. And so I challenge the parents that if you don't have that one-on-one relationship with your child, then go make that happen. Make it a goal that, depending on how many kids you had, I had 4, so I was doing one a week, one date a week with each one of my kids, and it was once a month. If you have less than that, you can do more if you would like. And there's one other thing I'd like to add that will be, it's the best question you could teach your kids to answer with conviction. And it'll help them with football. It'll help them with life. And it's this question: who are you? When a kid can answer that with conviction, you have given them the greatest gift you could ever give your child. And I can guarantee you, everyone listen to this, 9, if not 10 out of 10 cannot answer that question. That question matters. We got to know who we are. And just to give a little hint, like, how do we do that? What are the characteristics of a child? Loving, kind, understanding, brave, tenacious, love, light, energy, the list goes on, right? Where did the child get that? And we all have to get to a point and go, well, they were born with them. So what does that mean about you and me? We were born with them too.
But another trait you didn't mention is curious.
Well, for sure.
They're willing. They're willing to step out and try something where we as adults go, oh, we can't do that.
Yeah.
But then what do? A lot of times we will stifle them. Mm-hmm. No, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Wait, maybe they can.
Yeah.
If that trust, that relationship is built, and they understand that you believe in them.
Yeah. And as you do that, Jeff, then you're more apt to see warning signs. You actually see them when they're actually happening, like something's off, right? And communicating. Did you know there's a study done in America that the average couple speaks 27 minutes a week to each other? 27 minutes.
Hold on, John. Do you think Wendy would agree with that?
Are you talking about us? No.
Sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good.
No, I mean, isn't that ironic, though? We have a full week. I don't even know how many minutes are in a day. And yet you're telling me a couple only speaks 27. And how many minutes of those, me included, are positive words?
Yeah.
Maybe that's why there's so much trouble in marriage.
Maybe.
Well, no, it's the number one reason. The number one reason for divorce is lack of communication, or it's the wrong type of communication. And out of that 27 minutes, 80% of that talk is surfacey stuff. Hey, I need you to go to the bank. Hey, grab some milk. Do this, which is all stuff we need to do. But we never sit down and really, truly communicate. That's why this individual date with your kids, you're sitting down and you're having a conversation versus the surfacey stuff. It's no different with our spouses or partner. Sitting down and let's talk for a minute.
Because so many times you get to dinner, and everybody's doing this.
Yeah,
everyone's
on
their phone's
phone.
going.
Yep. So anyway, those. I just
so
think,
okay, let's say a parent has tried. They feel like they've tried to build this relationship for whatever reason. Too much water's under the bridge. They can't do it. Mm-hmm. Who do they reach out to for help in that juncture. If it's out of they feel it's out of their hands, where do they go next?
Yeah, and I understand that. That can happen. I mean, that's what I do in my private practice is I work with, kids and parents that are not connecting, and we work on some things. So
but do you work with them individually or together or both?
Do both. Yeah, we do both.
That's what I wanted to.
But they can go see a therapist. They can reach out to that kind of thing. There's people out there that would be willing to help kind of break the ice and break down some of these barriers that may have been built over years. And so there is help out there if people want it.
Do you find that some kids that don't have a relationship with their parents will not trust a coach or a therapist or somebody?
Yes and no. Sometimes the coach becomes the father figure. Sometimes the coach becomes the parent figure, and they gravitate towards that a little bit. But I've seen it both ways, But yeah, I mean, either way, that dynamic needs to be, healed and look, going in a better direction.
So I got one last thing.
Sure.
And then I've got to let you go because I know you got a busy, and I'm so grateful that you took a minute to come talk to us.
Good to be here.
But we live in a world where I call them GM dads, helicopter moms. We're not allowing our kids to fail. We're not allowing them to experience tough things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then they get into a really tough situation. But because mom's always there in the coach's face, dad's over there saying he needs to play this position. Yeah. They get into a math test in school, they fail it, and their world crumbles.
Yeah.
Because they don't know how to fail. What advice would you have for parents about letting your children fail, but being there to support them
for sure
through that?
So let me answer this with a couple stories, if that's okay.
Sure.
So there was this kid. He lived in Utah. I won't say his name, but he was a wrestler, undefeated his whole life. His family revolved around wrestling.
Did he go to Brighton High School?
No.
Oh, well, we were the wrestling kings of the world at that time.
We were at the time, yeah. It was like 10 years in a row. We took state or something like that. It was amazing. That program was amazing. Anyway, so this kid never lost. It was an amazing wrestler. His junior year ends up losing in the state finals. His junior year. He's devastated. He's never lost before, right? Well, he goes into this depression. He doesn't know how to handle the loss, and the parents don't even know what to do, right? Well, they end up hiring one of my friends who does what I do, and because they live in down south. And anyway, he starts talking with this kid. This mental fitness coach starts talking with this kid and said, "So you lost, huh? Yeah. Why'd you lose?" And he goes, "Well, he pulled a move on me that I wasn't ready for." And then he goes, "Would you if you wrestled that kid again, would he beat you?" And he's like, "Absolutely not." And then my friend tells him, "You need to write that kid a letter and tell him thank you for beating you, because look what he taught you. You should be grateful that you lost, because look what he taught you. He won't beat you again." And just that line of thinking turned this kid's kind of mental aspect around on this and said, "Oh my gosh, I never thought of it that way." Ends up going back into wrestling, didn't quit because he was thinking of quitting. Ends up wrestling his senior year, takes state his senior year, goes on and just doing amazing things. See, when we go through failures, it's actually a gift. And that's why we need to allow our kids to trip and fall sometimes. I get it. We want to help our kids and be there for them. And we can be. But one of the best things we can do is step back and watch them trip and fall a few times. If I could go back to my addiction, Jeff, 32 years ago, and if I could walk up to it and say something to it, you know what I'd say to it? I'd say, "Thank you, addiction." And I'd give it a big hug. You want to know why? Because I'm sitting here talking to you today. I wouldn't change a thing. And I failed miserably, and I should not be here. So I think what we need to do as parents is, when we actually do step back, we're actually helping. Because if we say we want to help, it's actually helping even more, right? Be there when you need to. It's a fine line, I get it. But let your kids fail. If they're not starting, don't go complain to the coach. Let your kid figure it out. Because you're going to teach them life lessons that they'll take on the rest of their lives, right? Our kids are powerful. You're powerful. Anyone listening to this, we're more strong, we're more powerful than we give ourselves credit. We can handle these things. We can learn from these things, right? I always say this, addiction is the wake-up call to your greatness. So for our listeners here, I'll say this, adversity is the wake-up call to your greatness. So let your kids go through adversity because it's going to be the wake-up call to their greatness.
So it's not the end of the world when you lose a game.
Nope.
You get a penalty called on you. It's not somebody else's fault. It's really a blessing. It's really a teaching moment.
Yeah.
It's really
Yeah.
a place for you to grow and to learn. Just
Absolutely.
like when that child takes his first step and falls on his face.
Yep.
That next step is a little bit better. That next one's a little bit better until they're in a full run. And then we wish we could put them back and say, don't run so fast. I can't keep up with you.
Yeah, right. Slow down.
Todd Sylvester, toddinspires.com. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being part of us. We, parents, coaches, as we embark on our new coaches certification, we've tried to give you what you wanted. We've tried not to bore you with an 8-hour overgeneralized coaching certification process, to give you stuff that's interactive. In the meantime, people like Todd, Riley, who you'll hear from in the coaches certification, their message is the same. Be grateful for your failures. Build trust through relationships.
Yeah.
And your kids will do things that if you just demand them to do, they will rebel. They're strong. But Todd, thank you so much.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
John, are you on? You got your mic on?
It's on. I got to say thank you to Todd. I think
you.
I need to pay you for that session.
Oh, thank you.
It hit home.
Yeah, thank you.
It hit home. Thank you.
But thanks for having me.
June 3rd, blood drive. It's our chance to give back, just like Todd gave back to that lemonade stand. It's our chance to do some good. You know that 1 pint of blood can help 4 patients on average? So you're going to see me here giving blood because that's what I do. I do it 6 times a year. I think it's a great thing to do. We want you. Come in, kickoff of UCTV that day. We're going to have the gals from Classy Till Kickoff. We're going to have coaching with Casey here. It's going to be an amazing day. John, Marcus, Vicky, the whole crew's going to be here. We might even find Rex. John, what do you think? Maybe we'll find Rex.
Where's Rex?
Where's Rex?
We'll find him.
This is Jeff Gorange. This is the Extra Point podcast for the Ute Conference. We're out.